Record-breaking COVID-19 numbers in the state, Oklahoma senators meet with SCOTUS nominee Amy Coney Barrett, and a look at State Question 805. This is OU Nightly. Hello and thanks for joining us for OU Nightly. I'm Waggner.
And I'm Haley Weger. It is another record-breaking day for COVID-19 cases in Oklahoma.
The Oklahoma State Health Department reports the highest numbers ever of cases in one day, with just over 1,600. That brings the total number of active cases to more than 15,000. There are currently 11 new deaths reported today, bringing the COVID death toll in Oklahoma to 1,221. And there's a stunning rise in the number of Oklahomans hospitalized with COVID. 839 people diagnosed with COVID are in the hospital, the highest number recorded since the start of the pandemic. The city of Norman has 56 new cases today for a total of 462 active cases in the city.
And we're now days away from a possible Supreme Court confirmation. Emma Sears caught up with Oklahoma senators in Washington and joins us live with the story. Emma?
Oklahoma Senators James Lankford and Jim Inhofe met with Supreme Court nominee Judge Amy Coney Barrett late Wednesday. After the meeting, both senators released statements endorsing the nominee. Earlier today, the Judiciary Committee approved the vote for the Supreme Court nominee. The vote now goes to the full Senate, which will take place Monday, October 26th. If confirmed, Judge Barrett will be the fifth woman to serve on the Supreme Court and the first woman ever with school-aged children. Emma Sears, Washington.
As the November general election rapidly approaches, two groups are drawing sharp lines on State Question 805. OU Nightly's Mackenzie Gladney spoke with representatives on both sides of the issue.
If passed, State Question 805 reduces the amount of time some prisoners spend behind bars. It would end the practice of adding years to a prison sentence for nonviolent crimes because of nonviolent convictions. Maggie Gibson from the American Civil Liberties Union says a vote yes would not only alleviate the mass incarceration rate, but it would also help the rehabilitation of prisoners.
Keep them out of prison and help them be contributing and functioning members of society. It's more important to help people who are impacted by substance abuse or by poverty or what have you.
But she says this is not a get out of jail free card.
It's important to note that 805 doesn't eliminate serious penalties for violent crimes. It only deals with nonviolent crimes.
The Oklahoma Coalition Against Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault says this proposition is not good for Oklahoma because domestic abuse charges are missing from the state's list of violent crimes.
We have high rates of domestic violence as it is, and this just takes away one of the protections for victims to keep offenders behind bars and ensure that they're safe.
Voters can expect to see this measure on the ballot November 3rd. Mackenzie Gladney, OU Nightly.
State Question 805 was filed on November 12, 2019, 10 weeks prior to the start of the legislative session.
And the final presidential debate is tonight. Grace Whitten has more on what to expect and what's new this go-around. Grace?
Thanks, Autumn. Tonight is the final presidential debate, and it's going to look a little bit different. Microphones will be muted during portions of the debate to prevent the interruptions we saw last time. President Donald Trump is currently trailing in the polls, and with over 40 million Americans who have already voted, this debate is crucial for the undecided voters. The moderator tonight is NBC's Kristen Welker, who is expected to cover topics such as COVID-19, race in America, and climate change. You can watch the debate tonight at 8 p.m. Oklahoma time. The police officer who knelt on George Floyd's neck has had a third-degree murder charge dropped today. The judge on the case dismissed one of Derek Chauvin's charges, but is upholding the rest. This leaves Chauvin still facing second-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter charges. The other three officers each remain charged with one count of aiding and abetting murder and one for manslaughter related to the case. All four officers are scheduled to face trial together in March, but the judge is requesting to have them tried separately. Under the economic toll of a global pandemic, child labor in India is on the rise. Indian police have raided 3 buses in just 2 weeks, rescuing around 50 children on their way to be exploited for labor. Indian laws prevent children under 14 from working, but these buses are traveling across the country, carrying some children as young as 11 years old. One of the rescue kids says his parents sold him to the traffickers for 1,500 rupees, which is about 21 US dollars. And Facebook and Instagram users who believe their posts were unfairly removed can now file an appeal to Facebook's Independent Oversight Board. This comes 2 years after the board was announced.
Thank you, Grace. And currently in Nigeria, a youth-led movement is protesting against police brutality. Mariah Conduff has the latest on how an OU international student from Nigeria is handling this injustice.
People in the world's largest black nation are taking to the streets protesting against police brutality. #EndSARS started on social media and has developed into a youth-led movement in Nigeria. Nigerians all over the world are using their voice to shed light on the injustices, including OU international student Emmanuel George.
Since the inception of this division of the police force, they have really abused their power. As long as you're a good-looking person, you have maybe an iPhone, you have a laptop, or you have a good car, you can be stopped and you can possibly be shot or killed.
George says he worries for his mother's safety back home.
So it just makes me a tad bit concerned. I call my mom all the time, I ask her, how are you doing? I hope you're staying safe. These people have attacked, elderly women, elderly men.
Since the protest, the Nigerian government has said they will disband SARS and start a new unit called SWAT. But George says that's not enough.
Disbanding SARS is not going to solve the problem. Stopping SARS is not going to end police brutality in Nigeria. This thing is not just about SARS. It's much more deeply ingrained in the system. It's much more deeply ingrained in the society.
Currently in America, black people are also protesting police brutality, leaving George wondering where he is safe.
So here in the States, the common theme of this police brutality is, racism. I would feel as though, going back home would be safe because there's no issue of hierarchy or racism because we're all the same. Now that this is happening back home, it just makes me feel as though we're safe.
The protests in Nigeria have been going on for 2 weeks.
And Autumn, it's pretty hot outside today, but I hear that's changing soon.
Yes, and Juliana Mejia has the first look at weather.
Yeah, thanks guys. So coming up in the full forecast, I will have details on 2 main cold fronts that we're expecting. One of those making their way through tonight, and along with it bringing some rain chances, scattered storms potentially, and then finally further ahead talking about next week with some freezing rain that we are looking at in the forecast. All of that to come. I'll send it back to you guys.
And flu season is among us. Find out how it's already affecting Oklahomans when we return.
Plus, a COVID-19 vaccine trial is underway. We'll look at their progress straight ahead on OU Nightly. COVID cases are spiking again in this fall season. Lindsey Gibbs is here with Health Report on how prepared the government was for the pandemic.
Thanks, Haley. And a new report from Johns Hopkins University finds that more than 130,000 COVID deaths could have been avoided. The report finds the lack of masking policies, insufficient testing, and a delayed response from the government is to blame. Disaster preparedness experts from Columbia University paired with the U.S. response to compare those to other policies in other countries. According to the research team, many deaths could have been avoided with federal coordination. The U.S. has reached more than 8 million COVID cases and over 200,000 deaths. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has approved the first drug called Valkyrie to treat COVID-19 given to patients through an IV. 30,000 people have enrolled to be a participant in the COVID-19 vaccine trials for the U.S. company Moderna. The participants have received the first shot, either the vaccine or the placebo. Moderna President Dr. Stephen Hodge says 53 participants need to become sick with COVID. 40 need to be participants who received the placebo, and there needs to be enough time passed to see possible side effects. This would ensure the vaccine is 75% effective. Dr. Hodge says Moderna is on track to get the vaccine approved by the U.S. FDA to put on the market in December. And the CDC says COVID-19 can be passed through brief interactions with people. The CDC previously denied a close contact as 15 minutes of continuous exposure to a person infected by COVID-19. This comes after a report from Vermont of a corrections officer who became positive for the coronavirus after multiple brief interactions with a COVID-19 positive inmate. None of the interactions lasted longer than 15 minutes. And flu hospitalizations are on the rise. The Oklahoma State Health Department reports 6 new hospitalizations this past week. That makes 17 hospitalizations since September. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Lindsay. Hopefully those hospitalized get better soon.
Yes, and it's getting harder and harder to park around campus for free.
A free student favorite joins the City of Norman's no parking zone. Find out where when we return.
And Juliana Mejia has another look at our weather. Juliana?
Yep, again, coming up next, so I'm going to talk about kind of the cold fronts that we're expecting, one coming through tonight, and maybe some chances for rain we may see tonight. All of that and more coming up next. Welcome back to OU Nightly, kicking it off by taking a look at our OKC Skycam here. We've got this beautiful conditions of warm sunshine, temperatures currently at 84 degrees, keeping up with this beautiful day that we've had so far today. But tonight is going to look quite a bit different. We're going to have our first of 2 cold fronts that we're keeping an eye on come through tonight. You can see that stretching right here across the state, giving us quite a variety of temperatures as cool as 29 up in Guyman. We're mild here, 41 in Oklahoma City, 45 here in Norman, and then still as warm as 64 degrees down in Idabel, where that cold front hasn't quite reached yet. Now, looking at the radar, this cold front is going to bring us some chances for some scattered rain. You see these northerly winds switching around behind that cold front, and then paused here at 2 a.m. We'll see the initial bubbling of some rain chances as that tapers out of the state overnight into tomorrow morning. Now, continuing to look at how this cold front is going to come through, our highs tomorrow are only going to reach 50 degrees here in Norman and Oklahoma City, nearly 40 degrees cooler than what we saw today. Now, oh my, look at that beautiful picture of the chrysanthemums finally in full bloom here on campus, taken by yours truly. Now, looking at our day planner, again, seeing the effects of this cold front, waking up, walking out the door 9 a.m. tomorrow at a brisk 43 degrees with the remnants of that potential rain. And finally, we're really not going to warm up too much, cloudy skies throughout the day. Now, I did want to mention, looking ahead into next week, this is Tuesday, we're looping through. You see this pink here as some chances for freezing rain that some models are showing, even including possibilities for snow. This is still very far in advance, and there's a lot of time for things to change, but this is kind of on the radar. So keep in tune, stay tuned with future forecasts to keep an eye on that as updates do come. And again, this is where our second cold front comes through Sunday night, dropping our low down here in Norman to 29 degrees and leaving our high only at 37 come Monday, and bringing along with it these chances for some mixed precipitation, that freezing rain chances. Again, keep an eye on our future forecasts. That way you're prepared for maybe some potentially hazardous driving conditions next week. This will stick around and keep us cool for majority of next week. Sending it back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Juliana. And the City of Norman recently put up new regulations on a popular off-campus side street. Behind Headington Hall, Lincoln Avenue is a popular place for students to park without permits, one way to avoid fines. But the Norman City Council just approved new signs that prohibit parking in that area. The signs went up on Tuesday morning, and by Tuesday afternoon, there were already citations on cars parked on that road.
And Rays fans are feeling pretty good today after Game 2 of the World Series last night.
Well, what's the recap?
Well, guys, the World Series was a pitching showdown last night. The Tampa Bay Rays showed out on the mound. I have that and more, so stay tuned because sports is next. Welcome back to OU Nightly. I'm Will Blessing. Starting off, OU plays TCU in 2 days. Sydney Bollier has more on how the team is going into the game Saturday morning.
Well, the Sooners had some time last week during their bye to celebrate their big win over Texas, but now it's back to work as they look forward to going down to Fort Worth to play TCU this Saturday. Although the Sooners remained sturdy during 4 overtimes against Texas, their 2 losses prior showed that the Sooners had a hard time closing out 4 quarters, and that will be a big factor going into Saturday's game.
You know, we got to do a lot better job of staying focused, you know, making sure we're doing everything right. Making sure we're doing every technique that we're supposed to be doing out there right, you know, giving 100% effort, things like that. You know, I think it's just staying focused, you know, and having that mentality to keep going no matter what. Which, I mean, we've let some games get closer than what we should have for sure because of, just mental lapses late in games, things like that. So it's something we need to work on for sure.
The Sooners and the Horned Frogs will kick off at 11 a.m. in Texas. Back to you, Will.
Thanks, Sydney. Now, Sooner Volleyball kicks off a 2-game series against Kansas State up in Manhattan, Kansas tonight. The Sooners are coming off a sweep against the Jayhawks, with freshman Gui Diouf dominating as always, adding to her 6-game streak of double-digit kills. And OU women's golf is currently playing up in Stillwater in the Cowgirl Classic. The Sooners are currently ranked number 2 in the nation, their highest ranking in program history. 3 individuals are currently playing as the Sooners expect to close out their fall season with each winning honors. The tournament will finish with 18 holes tomorrow. And the World Series is tied 1-1 after the Rays won last night. The Rays were able to beat the Dodgers 6-4, taking advantage of the Dodgers' weakened pitching staff. The Dodgers went through 7 pitchers last night, while Rays pitcher Benny Snell worked to keep the Dodgers from hitting anything through the 5th inning. The series will resume on Friday, giving the Dodgers a chance to rest for the first time since the NLCS. First pitch is at 7:08. And moving to the NFL, there's an NFC East matchup tonight with the Eagles playing the Giants. Both teams are off to rocky starts at best, with the NFC East as a conference sitting at just 5 total wins. Both the Giants and the Eagles have been riddled with injuries, including star running back Saquon Barkley. With a large amount of starters out, this could be an evenly matched game, but definitely not in a good way. And a Californian marathon runner used her running to spread a message. Emily Hu used the running app Strava to track her while she ran the virtual Chicago Marathon. Since the marathon was virtual, she could create her own path and use it to spell out Vote 2020. Now, guys, I do a little running myself, but I couldn't do anything close to a marathon yet. Something like that is incredibly impressive. Back to you.
Thanks, Will. And a dad is raising money to fight homelessness.
Find out the adorable way he's doing it when OU Nightly returns.
I'm Bella Roddy at the OU Nightly Update Desk. The Colorado wildfire that began yesterday evening grew over 100,000 acres overnight. The growth of the fire is equal to 70 football fields of forest burned every minute. The cause of the fire is still unknown, but officials are hoping for some snowfall later tonight to slow down the blaze. Be sure to like and follow OU Nightly on Facebook, and if you have a suggestion for a news story, let us know. That's it for now. Back to you in the studio.
And what started as a joke to sell a drawing of the family dog has gone viral on Facebook. A British man jokingly posted his amateur portrait for $400, and he's received thousands of drawing requests from pet owners since. Phil Heckles created a Facebook page called Hercule Van Wolfwinkle that's dedicated to his art. He doesn't charge for the portraits. Instead, he asks customers to donate to charity.
And the adorable creations have raised over $18,000 for a homelessness charity. And if you want one, you'll have to get on a waiting list of over 1,000 people.
Well, I'm ready. Sign me up.
Put me on that waiting list.
Yes, and Juliana joins us with one final look at the cold front coming in this week.
Yeah, so we are looking at two, one of them coming through tonight, cooling us off tomorrow to 50 degrees for our high, and then again on Sunday night, a much stronger cold front that will cool us down to 29 degrees for that low and keep us at 37 on Monday for our high, also bringing some mixed precipitation chances. All of that coming up next week. Definitely keep updated with future forecasts that are to come. Back to you guys.
And thanks for tuning in to this Wednesday edition of OU Nightly, brought to you by Gaylord College of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of Oklahoma.
We have the latest news every weekday live at 4:30 and again at 9:30. Have a great evening.
Good night.